My girlfriend said, "Either put my name on the house or I'm calling the police." After 4 months of living in my spare room, I said, "No," and watched her dial 911. Anyway, she thought officers would drag me out, but the report backfired. I'm 38, work as an electrician, and I own a modest 3-bedroom house that I've been paying on for about 10 years. Nothing fancy, but it's mine, and after my divorce 3 years ago, having my own space became really important to me. My girlfriend Cassidy is 32, works as a retail manager at one of those big box stores. We've been together about 8 months, living together for the last 4. When I say living together, I mean she gradually moved her stuff in and started treating my place like it was ours, which I was fine with initially because things seemed to be going well. But over the past couple months, something shifted. What started as helpful suggestions about the house turned into demands. What started as wanting to contribute to decisions turned into wanting to control them. It began small. She didn't like my furniture arrangement, so we rearranged it. Then she didn't like my choice of coffee, so we switched brands. Then she started inviting her friends over without asking, treating my living room like her personal social space. When I mentioned that I'd prefer a heads up before people came over, she accused me of being controlling and antisocial. When I suggested we talk about household decisions before making them, she said I was treating her like a guest in her own home. "This is my home too now," became her standard response to any pushback. The money thing started bothering me next. I've been covering mortgage, utilities, groceries, basically everything, while she pays her car payment and some credit cards. When I brought up the idea of her contributing to household expenses, she said she was already contributing by improving the place, and that I was being petty about money. But the real turning point came last week when she announced that her book club was going to start meeting at our house every Tuesday. "I already told them we'd host," she said. "It'll be good for you to be more social." "Cassidy, that's 8 women I don't know taking over my living room every week. Don't you think that's something we should have discussed first? Why would I need permission to have friends over? This is my home. It's my house. My name is on the deed. You moved in 4 months ago." That's when she said something that made my blood run cold. "Well, maybe it's time we made it official then. Either I'm your partner with equal say in decisions, or I'm just some woman you're shacking up with." I realized she was trying to force some kind of commitment ultimatum using my own house as leverage. But the way she'd been escalating demands and bulldozing boundaries, the idea of making anything more official felt like signing up for a lifetime of having my own space controlled by someone else. "I think we should slow down on big decisions and work on communication first," I said. Her reaction was immediate and intense. "I knew it. You never had any intention of building a real future with me. You just wanted someone to play house with until you got bored." The conversation devolved from there. She accused me of wasting her time, leading her on, using her for convenience. I tried to stay calm and explain that wanting to discuss major life decisions wasn't the same as rejection, but she wasn't hearing it. "If you don't want me here as an equal partner, then I don't want to be here at all," she said. I should have just said okay and helped her pack. Instead, I tried to de-escalate and suggested we both take some time to cool off before making any permanent decisions. Big mistake. Update 1. So the situation escalated way beyond what I expected, and honestly, I'm still processing how quickly things went from a relationship argument to actual legal consequences. After our conversation about the book club and household decisions, Cassidy spent 2 days giving me the silent treatment while dramatically packing her things. Not actually leaving, just making a big show of boxing up her belongings and stacking them by the door. I figured she was trying to make a point, so I gave her space to work through whatever she was feeling. Tuesday evening, her book club showed up as planned, even though we hadn't resolved anything. "I'm not canceling my commitments because you're being unreasonable," she said when I asked about it. I went to my workshop in the garage to avoid the tension and let her have her evening. When I came back around 10 p.m., her friends were gone, but she was waiting for me in the living room with a look I'd never seen before. "We need to settle this tonight," she said. "Either you commit to treating me like an equal partner in this house, or I'm leaving for good." "What does equal partner mean specifically?" I asked. "Equal say in decisions, joint names on accounts, planning a real future together instead of just playing house." I looked at this woman who'd been living in my house for 4 months, and was now demanding joint financial control and long-term commitments as the price for basic household peace. Cassidy, 4 months ago you had your own apartment and we were just dating. Now you're demanding access to my bank accounts and threatening to leave if I don't propose some kind of timeline for marriage. Don't you think that's moving pretty fast? I think 8 months is long enough to know if you're serious about someone. I am serious about you, but I'm not ready to merge finances or make major life decisions under pressure. That's when she completely lost it. You're not serious about me. You're keeping me around for convenience while you decide if something better comes along. You've wasted 8 months of my life. She started yelling about how I was selfish, how I was using her, how I didn't deserve someone who cared about me the way she did. The volume was getting concerning, and I could see lights turning on in neighbors' houses. Cassidy, please lower your voice. The neighbors. I don't care about your neighbors. I care about the fact that you're trying to control me. I'm not trying to control you. I'm asking you to respect the fact that this is my house. Your house, your rules, your decisions, your timeline for everything. Do you hear how selfish that sounds? I stayed calm, but internally I was realizing that this conversation wasn't really about book clubs or household decisions. This was about someone who had decided what our relationship should look like and was angry that I wasn't automatically agreeing to it. If you're not happy with how things are, then maybe we should take a break and figure out what we both actually want, I said. That's when she said something that should have been my final warning. Maybe you need to learn what happens when you treat people like they don't matter. What does that mean? It means you can't just throw people away when they become inconvenient for you. I was getting a bad feeling about where this was heading, but I tried one more time to de-escalate. Nobody's throwing anyone away. We're just two people who might want different things right now. Get out. What? Get out of this house. I'm not leaving. You are. I stared at her, trying to process what I was hearing. Cassidy, this is my house. My name is on the deed. I've been paying the mortgage for 10 years. I don't care. I'm not leaving, and if you try to make me, I'm calling the police. On what grounds? Domestic violence, harassment, whatever it takes. I felt the bottom drop out of my stomach. She was threatening to make false accusations against me in my own house because I wouldn't agree to her relationship demands. You would lie to the police? I would tell them exactly how you've been treating me. That's when I realized I was dealing with someone who was willing to weaponize the legal system to get what she wanted. Someone who saw false accusations as a legitimate relationship tactic. I went to my bedroom and locked the door while I figured out what to do next. 20 minutes later, I heard sirens. Update 2. So the police arrived, and what happened next was like something out of a movie, except the plot twist involved my family in a way that Cassidy definitely didn't see coming. I was still in my bedroom when I heard the sirens pull up outside. Through my window, I could see Cassidy on the front porch, and she looked confident. Not scared, not upset, confident. Like someone who was sure this was all going to go exactly the way she'd planned. I heard her talking to the officers, her voice carrying that same tone she'd used when telling her friends I was being unreasonable. Victim voice, I guess you'd call it. Shaky and hurt, but loud enough for me to hear through the walls. He's been getting more and more controlling, she was saying. Tonight he told me I had to leave immediately, or he'd make me leave. When I said this was my home too, he started yelling, and I got scared. I couldn't make out the officers' responses, but I heard footsteps coming toward the front door. That's when one of them knocked. Sir, this is the police. We need to speak with you. I opened my bedroom door and walked down the hallway toward the living room. Cassidy was standing behind 2 uniformed officers, and I'll never forget the look on her face when she saw me. Pure satisfaction. Like she'd just played the winning hand in a game I didn't even know we were playing. That's him, she said to the officers. He's been threatening me all evening. The first officer, a woman maybe in her 30s, turned to address me. Sir, we've received a complaint about domestic disturbance and trespassing. Can you tell us your side of what happened tonight? Before I could answer, the second officer stepped forward, and I felt my heart stop. It was my brother Hunter. Hunter is 27, been a cop for 5 years, and the last person I expected to see in my living room at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. He took one look at me, then at Cassidy, then back at me. Cole, he said, and I could see him processing the situation in real time. Hey buddy, I said, probably smiling for the first time all evening. Cassidy's confident expression started to waver. You two know each other? Hunter looked at his partner, then back at Cassidy. Ma'am, this is my brother, and unless I'm very confused about property records, this is his house. The color drained from Cassidy's face as she realized her carefully planned manipulation had just hit a brick wall named family loyalty. Your brother? She managed. Hunter turned to me. Cole, what's going on here? Are you okay? I explained the situation as calmly as I could. The relationship pressures, the escalating demands, the threats to call police with false accusations if I didn't give her joint control of my house and finances. Hunter's partner took detailed notes while he asked follow-up questions. Professional, thorough, but I could see the barely controlled anger in his eyes when I got to the part about Cassidy threatening to lie to police about domestic violence. Ma'am, Hunter said to Cassidy, you called 911 reporting domestic violence and trespassing. Can you explain to me how someone can trespass in their own home? Cassidy tried to backtrack, claiming she'd been confused and emotional, that she just wanted someone to help mediate the situation. But Hunter and his partner had body cameras recording everything, and her story kept changing. Ma'am, filing a false police report is a misdemeanor in this state, Hunter's partner said. Making false accusations of domestic violence is taken very seriously by our department. That's when Cassidy started crying, real tears this time, not the performance tears from earlier. She begged them not to arrest her, said she'd just been scared and confused, that she'd pack her things and leave immediately. Hunter looked at me. Do you want to press charges for the false report? I thought about it for maybe 10 seconds. This woman had been willing to destroy my reputation and potentially my freedom because I wouldn't hand over control of my house after 4 months of dating. Yeah, I said. I do. The rest of the evening was a blur of paperwork, evidence collection, and Cassidy being arrested for filing a false police report. Hunter handled everything with complete professionalism, but after his shift ended, he came back to check on me. You okay, man? He asked, sitting on my couch with a beer. Better now than I was 2 hours ago. She's been living here 4 months and tried to claim domestic violence and trespassing. She wanted joint control of the house and my finances. When I said that was moving too fast, she threatened to call police with false accusations unless I agreed. Hunter shook his head. You know what the crazy part is? If it had been any other officer, she might have gotten away with it. Domestic calls are always complicated, and a lot of departments have policies about removing the mail from the house first and sorting it out later. Would that have happened? Possibly. Depends on the officer. Depends on how convincing her story was. But Cole, you need to understand, false accusations like that can destroy your life, job, reputation, future relationships. She was playing with serious consequences. I knew he was right. If Cassidy had succeeded in getting me arrested or charged with domestic violence, it would have followed me forever. Thanks for being there tonight, I told him. Always, brother. But maybe next time, trust your instincts about people before they call the cops on you in your own house. He was right about that too. Final update. So the aftermath has been swift and exactly what Cassidy deserved. But it's also given me a lot to think about regarding how I handle relationships and boundaries. First, the legal stuff. Cassidy was charged with filing a false police report and misuse of emergency services. Her court date is next month, but her lawyer is apparently trying to work out a plea deal that includes community service, a fine, and anger management classes. The prosecutor told me that false domestic violence reports are taken seriously because they hurt real victims and waste police resources. More immediately satisfying was watching her try to deal with the social consequences of getting arrested for lying to police about domestic violence. Word spreads fast in a small town, especially when it involves someone getting arrested at a house where half the neighborhood saw the drama unfold. Her friend group from work apparently distanced themselves pretty quickly once they heard the real story. Turns out that when people realize you're willing to make false accusations against your boyfriend, they start wondering what you might be willing to say about them if you get angry. She moved out the day after getting bailed out, and it was awkward as hell. I stayed at work late to avoid the drama, but my neighbor Eli said she had several people helping her load boxes while she cried and ranted about how unfair everything was. She kept saying you'd turned everyone against her, Eli told me. But honestly, most of us heard the yelling that night, and when we found out she'd called the cops on you in your own house, well, that kind of speaks for itself. The most interesting conversation was with Hunter a few days later. We went out for dinner, and he told me something that really put the whole situation in perspective. Cole, I've responded to a lot of domestic violence calls, he said, real ones, where people are actually in danger. What she did wasn't just manipulative, it was an insult to every person who's ever needed police help in a genuine emergency. He explained that false reports make officers more skeptical of legitimate calls, waste resources that could be helping real victims, and create additional trauma for everyone involved. The fact that she thought she could weaponize the police to control your relationship tells you everything you need to know about her character, he said. But Hunter also called me out on something I needed to hear. You let that situation escalate way too far before standing up for yourself. She'd been steamrolling your boundaries for months, and you kept hoping it would get better instead of addressing it directly. He was right. I'd been so focused on being the accommodating, understanding boyfriend that I'd ignored obvious red flags about someone who wanted to control rather than partner. You raised me to be tougher than that, I told him. I didn't raise you, Hunter laughed. You raised me, and you did a good job. But maybe it's time to apply some of that protective instinct to yourself instead of just to me. That hit me harder than I expected. After our parents died when I was 20 and Hunter was 9, I'd spent so much energy making sure he turned out okay that I'd never really learned how to protect myself from people who wanted to take advantage of my tendency to accommodate and avoid conflict. The irony is that Hunter turned out better than I could have hoped. Confident, professional, standing up for what's right even when it's complicated. Meanwhile, I'm 38 years old, and just learning that being a good partner doesn't mean accepting whatever someone else wants to do with your life. 2 weeks ago, I would have said Cassidy was just high maintenance and needed clear communication. Now I see she was someone who viewed relationships as power struggles, and was willing to use false accusations as a weapon when she didn't get her way. The experience has made me more cautious about dating, but also clearer about what I actually want in a partner. Someone who respects boundaries instead of testing them. Someone who wants to build something together instead of taking control of something I've already built. Most importantly, someone who would never even consider lying to police as a relationship tactic. Hunter helped me change the locks last weekend, and we spent the afternoon talking about everything that had happened. He told me he was proud of how I'd handled the situation once it got serious, but that he hoped I'd learned to trust my instincts earlier in future relationships. You've always been the guy who gives people the benefit of the doubt, he said. That's part of what makes you a good person. But some people see that as a weakness to exploit, not a kindness to appreciate. I'm focusing on rebuilding my peace of mind and remembering what it feels like to live in my own house, without someone constantly trying to change how I do everything. The quiet is nice. The freedom to make decisions without negotiating every detail is even better. Cassidy's court date is in 3 weeks. I'll testify if needed, but mostly I'm just grateful the whole thing is behind me. Well, mostly behind me. I'm installing a security system next month, because apparently I live in a world where people call police on you in your own house when they don't get their way. The biggest lesson isn't about Cassidy or false accusations or even about setting boundaries earlier. It's about remembering that good relationships make your life better, not more complicated. They add peace, not constant negotiation. They should make you feel more like yourself, not less. I spent 4 months walking on eggshells in my own house, and it took my brother in a police uniform to remind me that I don't have to earn the right to be comfortable in my own life. Edit. For those asking if I'm proud of Hunter, absolutely. The way he handled a complicated situation with professionalism while still having my back was everything I could have hoped for in a brother and a police officer. Edit 2. Several people have asked about the security system. After this experience, having video evidence of what actually happens seems like a smart investment. Plus, it'll give me peace of mind if I ever date someone again who thinks making threats is an acceptable conflict resolution strategy. Edit 3. To anyone dealing with partners who escalate relationship disagreements into threats or ultimatums, that's not normal relationship conflict. That's manipulation, and it usually gets worse, not better, over time.